1st. It's 6:30. First, any conflict of interest? Tonight? None? Second, approval of the minutes for last meeting.
Yeah, that'll be there, right there to your left, and that is for August 7th.
Any corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.
You can just sign it anywhere on there.
Anywhere?
Yeah.
Okay. Next order of business, warrants. I have a warrant for $15,698.66. It's a payroll warrant.
Motion to approve.
Second, John.
I second?
Okay, here we go. Motion to, approve?
Aye.
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 3-0-0. Another last warrant is for $35,695.65. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. by
Second.
Joe. Let's see, big items on here is $4,839 to daily, 600 to daily, 710 to daily.
And this is for what one?
I'm sorry, Rachel.
Today is for what one?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's all material for the roads,
Material for the roads.
chloride, gravel,
Uh,
gravel mainly. Joe.
Gravel.
Allied Auto Parts, 1,200.
And that's a cleanup of a lot of bills, a lot of billing issues with Allied. That's just cleaning them up.
Blue Cross Blue Shield, $33,000. Sheriff Department, 2,906. Loopy Sale and Service, 8,300. Must be truck. Thank you,
It's louder than you think.
thank you. $2,275 to Goldstone Architecture.
That's part of the project for the garage,
Okay.
scheduled payment.
And $2,950 to Primer Piper.
That's the bond council.
Okay.
That's the final
Okay.
payment to close out the bond work.
And I think that's it.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0-0. Next order of business, announcements. Any announcements? No? None?
No.
Okay. we have the Girl Scouts here. And I said, hey, welcome. Welcome.
They're very nervous.
Okay. Would they introduce themselves?
Absolutely.
That would be wonderful.
All right. Yeah. Line up. Run, so they can see that. Yeah. Okay. You are?
Kelly, Jackie, Erin.
And I'm Tammy, and we're from Troop 30462, and we're based out of Arlington/Shaftsbury. Our other girl, Ariana, could not be here today. She's in New Hampshire. So I brought 3 out of the 4 girls with us. We're working on our Bronze Award. And I'll explain a little bit behind the background of what we're doing, and then the girls are going to do their presentation. They did a journey called Get Moving. And to do the journey, then they can do their Bronze Award, and this is toward their Bronze Award. And Get Moving was based on transportation, all sorts of types of transportation, and learning how to take your environment and take your, and learn how to, within that environment, look at all aspects of it, whether it's your energy use or your environment, and see if you can make changes and make it better. So one of the things they decided to do about Get Moving was to change transportation for themselves. And so in the end, they decided walking was an important part of their lives, and that as school children, they have to walk. And so they wanted to build the focus on school kids and the walking they do in their communities. So they wanted to do a survey in their community, and they looked at the town of Arlington and they looked at the town of Shaftsbury. And I took myself out of the element because I'm from Shaftsbury, and we had another Girl Scout leader who looked at both presentations they came up with of the 2 different towns of what they saw in the 2 communities around the elementary area. And she decided, based on what they found, which area had the most need. And they felt that the town of Shaftsbury had more needs than the town of Arlington did. So the girls will give you a presentation on that. So, down. Take this away. Okay. So I don't know if this is covered. Okay, Kelly's up first. Speak up.
So here is our community walk sponsor, and here is the crosswalk sign in Bennington where they have a push button and it blinks a signal so that the cars coming know that you're about to cross. But the ones in Shaftsbury have faded paint and they have no signs. Here is where you stand to wait for cars, but you can't really see it, it's fading off. And so here are 2 examples of where to cross, and you always, you can't cross, you have to wait, and adults have to stand in the road to get kids to cross.
Where's that location?
Right.
Right next to the school, as you can see in the background. And there's crosswalks in Bennington where they're really bright colors. And we're thinking maybe instead of a white, we could do a bright yellow or some really bright color instead of white. And we could just repaint over that.
So Kelly, do you think they should use like a neon paint, something that really shows,
Yeah.
give it better visibility?
Yes.
I think you're right, because I walk a lot.
Yeah.
And my wife and kid, we go for walks all the time. And to even so cross by the four corners up here, like you were saying with the faded paint on the crosswalks, I'll tell you, cars don't stop. You can stand there, there's just no courtesy, they just blow through, so, yeah. But thank you for bringing that up.
Buck Hill Road, they don't know that there is a school zone,
Right.
so they're going like 40 miles per hour, a little bit higher than that, and they're just going right down the hill without even knowing that there's a school there. And kids are trying to cross, and they almost hit the kids. So it's really hard to get across the road. That's why we need a redo for painting.
And a proactive approach is the best way to go about it, isn't it? To do something now instead of waiting for something to happen. I agree with you.
Okay, Jackie's gonna talk about our map.
Okay, so the buses are where there's bus stops, and so the bus stops, and some of the kids have to come across the road where the bus is, kind of, and some places don't have crosswalks, so it's hard for them to get across the road. And
And who are those kids?
the high schoolers and middle schoolers who are down in Bennington, and they just can't get across, and they have a really hard time getting across the road.
Even though the traffic is supposed to stop by going both ways.
Yeah.
Now, is there a fine that somebody can be fined if they don't stop? I think it's pretty sizable too. It's like $450, is it?
Yeah, it's $450. We actually spoke to the bus company, and they said it's a really, really horrible problem that they have, that people just won't stop. And the middle school and high schoolers do not have a crossing guard like the elementary kids
Right.
have to do the crossing. And what is how many miles is it, girls? 1.5, right? 1.5 miles for kids who are walkers in the town of Shaftsbury. The kids have to walk.
Right.
And middle school and high schoolers, right? They get dropped off, but they still have to walk. And they explained to us that they try to get them on the same side of the road that they live on, but sometimes they do have to cross. And there's a lot of places that they drop off, and we have buses, right? At the locations where the bus drops off.
And sometimes the kids can get really, really, really hurt.
Sure, yes. Yeah.
And we actually got a chance to talk to the gentleman who actually goes out and does, and he told us some interesting stories about what's happening to him, where they drive over his feet. He has been actually tapped by cars over 50 times in this last school year alone.
Wow.
That's pretty scary, and he's just, I mean, he's not even a kid. It's scary what he was telling us when he did the survey with us. And then the grand finale, right, Carrie? Oh, here it is, grand finale. This is the one that takes the most time. Okay, I'm gonna hold on this. Okay, ready? All right, so you're gonna read them off. This is the survey we did.
Okay.
This
Okay. Do you see the crosswalks easily while driving during the daytime?
So, how many people say yes?
13 people said yes, 7 people said no.
Okay, next
B.
one.
Do you see the crosswalks easily while driving during the nighttime? 0 people said yes, 18 people said no. C. Do any of the crosswalk areas need lighting? Yes, 17, no, 3. D. What locations? Buck Hill, School,
9.
9, Cleveland Ave, 5. E. Do you think Shaftsbury needs any more crosswalks that aren't placed now?
Yes, 13, no, 6. F. What locations? Buck Hill, school. 7. Post office, 2. Church, Cleveland, 6.
Which we think was basically the same then.
Yeah.
We just think they got it a little confused. We found that people were really confused. They were sitting there going, and people who weren't from, like didn't live in town, we found that they really struggled with trying to, wait a minute. They spent a lot of time trying to figure it out because they just drive into town. They don't walk into town.
G. Do you think there are painted signs saying there's a school on the pavement near the elementary? Painted sign school. Yes, 8, no, 11.
We had a lot of questions on that one. People
Yeah.
were-
H. Should there be updated school signs near Shaftsbury Elementary showing that there's a school zone? Yes, 18, no, 4.
Because we found that in school zones where they've replaced them, what color are they? Really bright yellow,
Right.
right? Really intense.
I. Is it hard to cross the road near school, Buck Hill? Yes, 15, no, 3. J. Is there enough lighting near the school on Buck Hill Road? 4. Yes, 15, no. K. How would you feel about a lower speed on Buck Hill Road?
We got a lot of answers on this one.
Yes, 16.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, 16, no, 4. Oh,
That's him.
What were the rumblings? Should there be rumbling strips, speed bumps on Buck Hill Road show to slow speeders down? 16 yes, no 5.
We checked in with the state police, and the state police said they actually don't have accidents on Duck Hill Road, which we were really surprised by, because gosh, people just fly down that road, and they said they don't have any accidents. We asked them if they give out a lot of tickets on Buck Hill Road, and they said, no, we don't, because we're not checking it, which we thought was interesting as well.
Yeah.
They said at the beginning of the school year, they do a lot of checking, very first week or so. They're watching all the schools and they are making sure people are abiding by the rules, but they stop paying attention within a couple weeks. And then it kind of slows it down, which is kind of sad. We asked the school system or the busing system what was the #1 offending location. They said it doesn't matter what part of country you're in, whether you're in California, Michigan, or Vermont.
School buses.
The school buses are being offended. They said they're shocked. I mean, they're yellow, they're giant, they're big. They offended. When a bus is coming, the crossing traffic does not stop. They
No.
just don't stop. The bus is obviously behind, cars behind it are stopping because they're forced to. When the traffic that comes across doesn't stop. They said North Side Drive in Bennington, #1 offender. They said it's horrible. They will not stop for those kids that live on, and there are not a lot of kids that live on North Side Drive, but the middle schoolers and high schoolers have the worst problem right now because we thought it was the elementary kids. It's actually not them. It is the high school and middle schoolers because they get off the bus and there's no one there to help them. They have to figure out how to get across the streets by themselves, which is really frightening. And these are 7th graders through 12th graders who have to figure this out on their own. And that is really, really frightening, and we need more for them to do that, right guys? That's what we figured out. And what we also found out was that there was a lot of cut through on Cleveland Avenue, off of Church Street, to bypass the 25 mile an hour, because nobody wants to slow down, which is sad. We also found that on Church Street, we found one sign that says it's 25 mile an hour on both sides, one. So you go down Church Street, you can't find a 25 mile an hour, but when you come up Church Street, you can. One, total, which we thought was interesting. So if you drive the roads, you can see that. Now, Buck Hill Road, there's lots and lots of signs that tell you what the speed limit is, going and coming, lots. Church Street, not so many. So there's a few things that maybe
That's something we can
You
do.
folks could take a drive around and just look to see what you find, and it would kind of surprise you. And we also were told that the biggest offenders of breaking the speeds during school hours are the parents of the school kids.
You know better.
It's just sad, and they should know better, because these are our kids that we should be taking care of, and they are offending. You know school zone?
Yeah, there's no school sign.
You know, on the ground?
No, like a sign saying on Buckfield Road, ways before it saying there's
Yeah.
a school.
Up here, not so up
On
here.
7, there is
Yeah.
one that says school, but on
Buck Hill.
the Hill, there's nothing that tells you there's a school.
Now, there's no crossing guard
There's a crossing guard on 7.
on 7, but there's none at school, on Buck Hill.
No, he does it for the kids right here, for the elementary kids. They have
Okay.
one for the morning and the afternoon. But for middle school and high schoolers,
Yeah,
there is
no.
nothing for them. So those kids have to figure out how to do it on their own.
Yeah.
And hopefully they are okay, but it is kind of dangerous, and the kids do talk about how dangerous it can be. So we're just saying to the town, take in consideration, we know that there have been people who've been injured on 7A that are adults. These are our youth that we want you to take in consideration. And I know that there's been some great improvements out there. We've seen some really nice things that are being done out there. We just would like to see it taken a little bit further and see a little more improvements, particularly right here. It is extremely dangerous, and the girls saw the need, and they would love to see some changes. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you for listening to us talk.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
coming in
Thank you.
and explaining
Thank you
your.
for the data. Thank you for the data.
Very good.
Can we get a paper copy of that, or send an email, or send a,
Would you have been here?
do you have your findings?
Yes. Oh, the findings. I
Yeah.
have, yes, I can give you a paper copy of that. Do you want this one that's the blank? Or do you want the?
I think the final results would
Yeah,
be
I can
helpful.
get that to you.
That would be
Absolutely.
great. Just send it to us email
Absolutely.
to the town manager. That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
That would be good.
So it was very
information for us.
interesting. The girls got a lot out of it. We were
Yeah.
really surprised with what we
Yeah.
found out.
See, unfortunately, with school buses, I think the law enforcement officer has to witness somebody going past a stopped school bus. In some states, I think bus drivers can report someone going through, but I think in Vermont, you need a law enforcement.
And they said they take down license plates and they do what they can with it, but they said they turn it in, but they just, and our school system, the buses don't have cameras that
No.
point out so that they can get tickets,
No.
unfortunately, and that's a problem in our communities, so,
But the
It is what
crosswalks
it
are
is.
something we can do about it.
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that's what we're hoping for. is
So we want
changes.
to increase awareness and perhaps enforcement.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
down
I mean,
at
that's good to know
what we
about.
found was, the school system, or the busing system told us down by the cemetery, they drop off the kids, Ledger Drive.
Ludley Drive.
That's another location, and then right at Church, Buck Hill, and 7 is where another location, and then they go down to Pollins and drop off, and then it's further out. But they said that does change over time, because based on when children are obviously moving or kids grow up, that will change over time. But currently, that's where most of the kids are dropped off, and they do the best they can by trying to drop them off as close to their homes and on the same side of the roads, but they said not all
No,
kids
it's not
have
gonna
that.
happen.
They
Yeah.
do the best they can, but it's not necessarily, it is what they can do.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, the middle school and high schools have a rough way, and the elementary kids all walk up to Howard Park. The other thing we noticed was there would be nice to have a sidewalk down.
We're working on the sidewalks. We're
That would
working
be
on
a
the
nice
sidewalk.
gesture.
We're working on the sidewalk.
Because they do use the park a lot for the elementary kids.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have the sidewalk, get them up there, but to get them across that road, to get them to that sidewalk is virtually impossible. People will not stop.
No,
It's horrible. So, but we will get the results to you guys.
thank
So
you.
thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Carrie, Kelly, and Jackie, I just wanted to say thank you for being a scout as well. I mean, it's a great all-American tradition and something I value. I mean, and when I was a kid, I was a scout as well. And my sister was in the Brownies, and she went into the Girl Scouts. And you just don't see enough of it. I'm just really glad to see that you guys are carrying on the tradition. And it's good. It's memories that you'll have for the rest of your life as well. Good stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you, Kenny. Next item is
is public comment.
Public comments. Any public
it's me.
comments? Yes. Mr. Mata.
I got a bunch of stuff, but I won't be covering them because two of the people are not here that I played tag with on Tuesday. But can I get a copy of the agenda for the last meeting? Because it wasn't in the paper, it wasn't downstairs posted, I didn't find it around town, and it wasn't on the website.
Well, I can show it to you because was in all those places.
Right.
Because I checked downstairs the night of the meeting and there was no agenda listed. And I checked online the day after the meeting and it just had the agenda for 28 July. It didn't have the one for 7 August.
I might have even deleted it the day after the meeting. It doesn't have to be up after the meeting. Otherwise, I forget they're up there. Because I posted them all. I can add them
But
for
the
you.
one for July 28 stayed up there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many days after the meeting.
Mm.
So anyways, I contacted the Secretary of State's office and it tells about the different meetings.
Okay. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
see you later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Treasurer's report. Hi, Melanie.
Hello. You know, the bus stop she was talking about across from the cemetery is my kid's bus stop for the
Yep.
last 6 years
Yeah.
and for the next 4. And I have seen cars just go, the kids jump back when they
Okay.
realize they start to be able to read the body language of the
Yeah.
cars and they have to jump back. And
And
I've
they
seen
come
it-
from around the front of the bus,
Yeah,
don't they? Didn't they have to look, take the people?
yeah, it's an accident waiting to happen, they're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Okay, so this is cash flow. You can see the very last thing there, our state money for the sidewalk came in today. I think that's the last of the...
That's the last of the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
so that was nice, nice to see. I did the first draw on the line of credit. You can see there the $100,000. I probably did it a little earlier than I needed to because we're not spending money all that fast this time of year. But better safe than sorry. And if you look down, you can see we've still got a little tiny bit more. So we've got over 300,000 in there, but so I probably won't need to do another draw for a while. The main thing that's going on in my life is that I'm not able to do anything because I really need to set the tax rate. This should have been the meeting at which I presented the
Right.
tax rate to you guys, and haven't been able to do that because we're a little late with the grand list. But when I am able to do that, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, Dave. We're probably going to need a
Yeah, we're gonna need to have a special meeting next week or at the latest, the day after Labor Day. But it would be preferable to have it sometime next week. A representative from the state will be here Wednesday to assist the listers in lodging the grand list in Nimerick, which is really the holdup at the moment.
Yeah.
So as soon as that's done, we need a few things have to happen rapidly. Towards the middle of next week, or maybe Thursday would be preferable because then we can do more bills before, because our first meeting in September is
Yes.
on the holiday, so we're not having it. But that's something we need to talk about.
For next week.
Yeah, and we'll send an email. I'll send emails out to everyone on the
Okay.
board, see what days work for everybody.
It could even be during the day or whatever. I mean, just
Yeah.
from my point of view, whatever's easiest. Because my phone is ringing off the hook with people who want to give us money, and
Oh, yeah?
everybody thinks that they should have gotten their tax bills already, and I have to tell them sort of sheepishly, we don't even know what the tax rate is yet. So I would love to be able to give them an answer about when they
Yeah, that would be
expect their
nice.
bills. I think they got, last year they were out quite early, and I think they thought that was a new normal, and I would love it to be the new normal, but anyway, so that's sort of holding me up. But there's very little else going on.
Okay. All right. Good. take that out, yeah.
Any questions about any?
Questions?
I don't project it to the budget in the middle of the month because it's not very instructive. So at the next meeting, I'll show you how August looked versus budget and how we did last year at the same time. Oh, yeah, and that's just whatever, that's the cash position of all of the reserve funds right now.
Which doesn't include fiscal 18 contributions.
Right,
Yeah.
well, but it's just cash anyway. This is not the actual.
Well, it's not, yeah, I just want the board to think that includes what's voted in for this year.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
of course, yeah. No, this is purely cash.
Yeah.
And some of it's overstated because it owes money to the general fund. This is just purely cash, not balance sheet. It's actually not all that instructive at all, except at the bottom line.
Right.
But any questions about anything?
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
no.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
The next up is the road foreman report.
Right. Hi, Steve. What's going on? You're busy.
We're busy. We've been doing some ditching and some mulching and cutting some brush. Trying to get them graded, smoothed up some more. Weather hasn't been our friend lately. Had some people on vacation. We've been short-handed. We have met with the state engineer. There's a few issues around town for East Road, Shaftsbury Hollow, end of Cider Mill Road. There's a few areas around Myers Road. Coming up with a plan on that for what we can do to try to alleviate the mud in the spring.
Yeah.
Come up with a few stone mattress idea for East Road to try to get the water across underneath one side of the road to the other. We'll try to install 4 of those before fall.
Steve, the state sent this afternoon, so I put it on here. That's the mattress Steve is referring to.
That's just one size. There are going to be a few of them that are different sizes.
Gives you an idea where they would go.
So stone, okay.
Basically, it's a ditch with a pitch across the road,
Yeah.
about 10 feet wide, 3.5 to 4 feet deep. You put fabric in the bottom, and it gets fractured stone, slope stone in the bottom of it. Fold the fabric in on the top, cover it in gravel, so it gives the water a place to run underneath the road rather than soak into it. We're going to try to do that in 3 to 4 spots along that section to try to alleviate the mud that we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
Has that been done before or no?
No, it's had fabric put under it like 20 years ago,
Yep.
15 years ago, but we did take a sample of the top gravel material. The water level is very high up there, standing water, especially in the spring. So it's right up to the bottom of the fabric, so it pushes up through, lets the water through.
Bringing the ditch across the road, that's gonna alleviate the problem?
Like 4 of those we're gonna do to try to get it to cross in a few different spots.
Where's that, Steve?
East Road,
Where's that, our money?
yeah.
And this lies 18 inches below the surface and extends another
Did you do one on Trimble Hill?
18 inches.
Yes. By the old Reed residence,
So
we've
it'll
done a
drain
test
that.
hole.
Below it?
It'll drain at a
Yes.
1% slope
About
from one side of the
100
road
feet
to the
below?
other.
Yes.
Where, up there?
And it's 8 feet wide, so it'll take the water
Oh,
down.
I know it was. You don't have to tell us.
Right now.
I know it was.
I know there is too.
Are they a maintenance issue at all? Because it's exposed,
No.
right?
No, it's wrapped in fabric.
Great.
The stone is wrapped in fabric with and this end is protected so that it doesn't clog up, and then daylight's at the other end.
But
Instead
you
of
pave
1%
over the
slope.
top of it.
Gravel.
Gravel.
Yeah.
Gravel over the
Yeah,
top.
Yes.
yeah.
What it does is the fabric keeps the mud and silt from
Out.
getting into the stone.
Right.
Keeps it clear and just lets the water out.
Water can run through.
Drains the water out of it. And that's the cheapest way to fix a road.
What was that road that you were talking about this weekend? It was when it was raining. There was one up here. Was it Daniels?
Yeah, I went up on Daniels Road Friday when it rained hard. And that ditch, remember I talked about stoning that up on the upper end of Daniels Road?
Yeah.
Don't bother. There wasn't enough water in there to put in your eye. The field soaked it up.
A lot of it.
But between Mountain View and Glossonville,
There's a lot there.
that ditch was totally full. And I went up there this morning, and there's a 24-inch culvert
2 foot one. Yeah.
under
Glass and.
Glossonville. but that ditch was still full of water.
Yeah.
So while I was looking at that, a citizen came down and said that he had recommended, or asked the town years ago, to put a culvert up on, Glastonbury Road, by that first speed limit sign,
Okay.
across the road.
Yep.
And I think that would be a good idea, because if you go up and look at that ditch,
There's one in there.
no, there, yeah, but don't cross.
There's one that goes across there. It's been plugged by a landowner years ago. There's an
By
issue-
that speed limit sign?
We'll talk about it, but you better not,
No, okay, but what I was suggesting was, if you look at the ditch coming down Glastonbury, you'll see
there is one across.
between that driveway, that first driveway, and the one that goes under the road.
There's one there, I'll talk to you.
No,
about
I mean
it.
under the, at the end, down by Daniels Road.
Yeah,
You'll see where the gravel stopped. That's where the water was slowing down coming down that ditch. And I think if we could get one crossed, or if there's one there clear it.
pretty sure there's an 18 there.
Well, I don't know sure, I just didn't see it. But right there by that speed limit sign,
Huh?
that would solve us a lot of problems, because it would cut that volume down to that 24 inch.
Straight across.
Yeah. So, because I had talked to Dave about it,
Yeah.
so.
I know there was an issue with it years ago.
Well, there's a lot of places in town where there's, either roads been taken over, or roads that right now should have culverts that don't, that ought to have them before we get houses in there.
Right.
I went up on Powder Montgomery Road too, and you'll see an orange paint mark up there. Not too far from where that new house is,
Right.
and there ought to be a culvert there, because that road is half cut. Just a pond out in the middle of it. There's no culverts on that road.
Nothing, there's nothing in there.
So if you get a chance, before houses get in there, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a few in there.
Right.
Because once they get in there, then you have problems.
Yeah.
Steve, you want to explain the Trumbull Hill one?
That's the area that Ken was just referring to. It's gonna get a stone trench dug up the center, stone perforated pipe turned out into an existing ditch that we have underneath to get rid of the water that's in the center of the road up there in the springtime.
Yeah.
It's gonna get a 4-inch perforated pipe down the center of that stone line ditch in the middle and put a turnout into the ditch that's existing.
That's real cheap for fixing bad problems.
Sure works. Good. Good. What's the difference between that and a French drain?
That is a French drain.
That's what I thought. I was just thinking.
They call it a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay.
Basically the same thing.
Okay.
basically it works. It's
Yeah,
it really
makes
is.
sense, sure.
I was doing it long before there was such a thing as,
They work if you can find a place to exit them, to get rid of the water.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, if you're gonna drain it somewhere, yeah.
because water's basically lazy.
Oh, yeah.
It goes wherever is easiest to go.
That's right.
If that means up, I'm going up.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope this solves our problem. Good.
You're gonna come back with a full survey crew because there's not a lot of pitch on the Myers Road project. So I'm gonna just make sure what we have before we even start for elevations.
Yeah,
It's gonna get something similar to that up there as well.
okay.
But we don't have a plan for that yet. We will hopefully in the next few weeks.
Sometimes you can do that, you don't have to do stabilization fabric and 2 foot of gravel.
Right? I'm all for that in places we can do it.
Oh, yeah, it saves a lot of money. And it goes in fast,
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time to do.
cheap too.
Steve, why don't you go over the main projects that because we had to shift a lot of what we were gonna do due to our meager resources with manpower this
I was
summer.
gonna say, we're down to, you were down to about 3 people now.
Yeah, 3 and even 2 on some days.
Yeah.
Some
So,
days are vacations and
Right.
yeah.
everything that's going down.
But we've altered a few things.
We're gonna try to do a section of Shaftsbury Hollow and fabric and raise the road over there to alleviate the mud that's in there. Biggest project, probably for this year. I'm not
And these 4, like on East Road, instead of pouring tens of thousands of dollars more
Right.
material into these holes, and the state has agreed to come back, and actually in the first one we put in, there'll be some people here just to go over it with the whole crew, and then the crew will put in the other 3 quickly after that. The state said they would come back in mud season and survey it again to see what adjustments have to be made, if there's more. They helped us out with Trumbull Hill. As Steve said, they're going to survey Myers Road. We're going to talk to a couple of people on Myers Road because we had planned to do it this year. But again, we could toss another 50,000 of gravel on it and get nowhere. Or the state engineers will prepare, along with the crew, will survey it because there's many. He went up and he's seen many issues, and we'll have a package put together. It may be the spring of this year before it's done, unfortunately, but it'll be done correctly and at less expense, and we won't pour, all this material into the ground again to have it disappear. These, like Steve and Ken said, these are fairly simple, cheap fixes to move the water underneath the road and dry it up.
Yeah.
There's already fabric in the East Road section. I just didn't want to dig into that and disturb it any more than we have to. We're gonna have to cut it to put the trenches across. We can repair that section when you're there with overlap of another piece of fabric. So we'll repair it and it should be fine.
And the water on the swampy side, it's August, and it's just a little bit below where the fabric is. So when you get to mud season, it's above the fabric anyway. It's just turned the whole thing. So the drains will, as Ken said, the water's lazy. It's going to head towards the least resistance underneath. So hopefully it'll go through, and the state will survey again and see where we are.
We did take samples of the top gravel up there too. It looks like there's some clay in it.
Yeah.
The water, as soon as the water comes up through into the clay, the issue stopped as soon as it dried out. That's what we're thinking we got.
Well, clay, if you get the water out of it, will back hard as hell, but when water comes back, there it goes again.
So what about the Shaftsbury Hollow? When we had the gentleman that was in here, it was really, that section that was unpassable for pleasure cars.
That's the one we're gonna fix, I think.
That's the section that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that one has turned into, where are we up to, about $75,000?
Yeah.
So that's a very large project. I
But it's a
think.
large section too, it's like
Yeah.
400 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to take our small crew. That's going to be a large project.
And this should be the end all to that problem, or no? It's just gonna alleviate some of the
It should,
pain?
it should be. Should be.
Was that the one, Dave, that they wanted to dig up?
Yeah.
Yes.
For now.
They, from a construction point of view and leveling with driveways was more their look at it than there was an advantage to digging it up. It was just a planning thing. They're not opposed to leaving it the way it is.
Yeah, but we could just grade down into the driveways to make it
Yes.
stop.
Taper them back.
Yeah, and we'll talk to the homeowners up there. Steve and I have already talked about this, it's just addressing the homeowners. Some will have, a little slope coming into the driveway, but it's better than having a field of mud out front too,
Yeah.
so.
Well, you were saying the construction cost for that out in the hollow is gonna be what, 50,000?
72 were the last numbers I had.
72,000.
Yeah, it's a substantial stretch we're looking at.
Yeah.
And as we go around everywhere, the problem that moves that up to the top is, it's towards the beginning of the road and there's no way out.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
That's the only way in and out, and it's gotten very bad.
Life in the holler.
It's a lot better than it was 30 years ago.
It's a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Perennial problem. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is, Dave, even though the fabric is there isn't right, it's still there.
It's still gonna work.
And it's gonna help
Somewhat.
the new that you put on. So to me, it makes no sense to dig it up. I mean, besides the cost of digging it out.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. It costs you $20,000 more or more
To remove it.
to remove it.
About
You
a week,
double it,
week
probably.
to dig in to excavate the area out.
Yeah.
It'd be easier to just fix the driveways.
Then you gotta find a place to get rid of it.
Right,
Yeah.
which is becoming.
And not everybody will want it because it's gonna have fabric all woven into it because you can't separate it while you're digging it up.
At least you can get your money's worth out of it if you leave it there.
It's a second coat, basically.
Anything else, Steve? No. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Next.
Uh,
Garage, anything?
There really isn't much on the garage and transfer station. We're still, Goldstone is still talking to the state about the firewall and what options we have, but that's not concluded yet. There may be a pushback. We were looking for September 1st for a bidding package to be available. That might have to go back a week or so because this is somewhat delaying the final design to go out until we can negotiate with the state what we have to do. If the center wall has to go in, that's clearly changing how we all looked at the building. But Rupert didn't have to put it in, so we'll see. You know, it's in the talking stage. Financially, the bonds, the money's in the bank, as they say. Everything's done. We're well ahead. As I totaled up what we spent so far, we have plenty to move forward.
Good.
Plenty to move forward. And the transfer station, again, we'll move that in October. There's no change in plans to that. And we do have to decide what we're going to do with some of the things and what we're going to do with the buildings that are up there. We have that gray metal-sided building.
Right. It's got stuff in it, right?
Well, it has stuff in it. It has two
Generator.
old Army generators that I can't imagine are of value to anybody.
3 generators? 4 generators.
4, where are they? I only saw the 2 big ones. Are there 2 on that pallet?
Trailer and 2 pallet.
Oh, there's 2 in that trailer. Oh, I thought that was 1 unit. Okay, well, there's 4. 2 on the pallet and 2 in the trailer. Oh, okay, I didn't realize.
So what do you want to do, eBay them or?
Well, I have a small inventory, and I think we just put the generators. Everything else in there is kind of junk, to tell you the truth. We have 2 old lawnmowers, an old John Deere that's kind of in parts. We have a speed sign that, is having run and maintained those. I doubt there's any value to it at all. So a lot of that is junk, but you have the building itself, which I had inquiries from people about buying the building. And same with buying the water department if we decide to move that building, which is in the plans to move. So people have asked about buying those. So we have to discuss how we're going to auction those buildings off.
They're movable, huh?
Yeah, well, if you get the right equipment and the right know-how, you can pick each of them up. Or you can dismantle the steel one and put it back together. I've had people who've looked at the water building and said, we'll mount that on a trailer and drive it right out. Like, you bring in your insurance papers and
I was gonna
you
say,
can,
insurance papers.
as long as you're insured leaving the property, we're good with it, but.
Were those generators for like emergency generators? Were they?
The 2 on the trailer were bought for something to do up at the school or to use in town when there's an emergency like Irene.
Yeah,
They're the actual 3-phase generator. They're basically brand new military units.
yeah.
The other 2 were
3-phase.
old antique ones that are from the Vietnam era.
480 volts.
Army surplus stuff that we got, right?
Yeah, it was surplus.
Does it all work?
Nobody's turned them on because nobody's qualified.
2 on the trailer who were,
Well, how long ago was that?
I'd have them running.
Those old diesel
Oh, really?
military ones?
But you have to have someone to hook them up, right?
Right, I don't know.
You have to have an electrician to hook them up.
Come on, sure.
But that, I think the school has since updated, correct?
Yeah.
The school has a generator, we don't need them anymore.
Yeah, they have their own. Right.
And for this facility, I think they'd be somewhat inappropriate because they'd have to be outside. We have the public walking through. They're not meant for a civilian market.
But they're old enough so they're not appropriate anyway.
I bet they are.
It's not as reliable as a flat tire.
Yeah. I mean, even for the use in here, any kind of small standard generator now would power what would need to be powered in this building in an emergency. So I don't know if they're that worthwhile. There's something to think about, or just try and sell them. There's also, we need to talk about, we've had offers of trade in kind for work to be done, like demolition of the transfer station in exchange for a piece of equipment we have laying out here. the attempt at a forklift, which has no scrap value, but has value to this gentleman, because he needs parts. You know, there's a few things that we need to
Yeah,
sit
we
down and
talked
decide
about
how we're gonna do.
Insurance is the biggest issue.
Yeah, so long as you're insured, you can take it, but,
Yeah.
everybody who comes on, we've had questions about the trees. Some people want the trees,
Right.
but it's like, well, as long as you bring in your
You
insurance.
need to be qualified.
Yeah, so we'll have to sit down with a list maybe at the next meeting or the meeting after and decide how we're gonna go about removing a lot of this stuff. Because it is getting to be time to
Yeah.
move it on.
We had talked about barter, but the problem is insurance and
Yeah.
liability.
Yep, it has to be, it's not, the documents, especially for the transfers, would have to be examined by our attorney to make sure that, you know, you sign on the dotted line, it is yours with no claim back against the town whatsoever.
Right.
Especially with this forklift thing out here.
Yeah.
Because it's been altered and you have to sign away at it. And the generators too, as is, no liability whatsoever.
Well,
Yeah.
if somebody ever gets hurt with that fork loader out there with what's
Yeah.
modified and changed, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's 10 years down the road, you're in trouble.
yeah, absolutely.
So my advice is if you're gonna do that, take the arms.
Yeah, take the arms right off.
Take the arms right off and let somebody else worry about it.
Yeah.
If they put it together, it's their problem.
Yeah, that's true. Cut them off and just junk them. Yeah. That's about. Steve, would you mind hitting the light switches over
Yeah.
there? Suddenly it's dark. There's another eclipse. You know,
No, it's 20 after 7, that's why.
All right.
That's about it for the garage and transfer station.
Okay.
Coal Hall
Yeah.
is, we have holes in the ceiling.
I see.
But there was no mold when we took that down.
I heard.
Over here was rust.
Yeah.
So there's small leaks up here. I have an estimate from Doxy for $520 to just fix some of the loose slates. When you get someone with a real eye for a roof, you can see where a couple have broken free again. So that's probably caused this leak here, so we'll get that fixed for the winter. I'm gonna have the building environmentally tested again as we look to move forward to turning this into office space up here. And then we'll have to have the discussion, the final discussion on replacing the roof. Because to move forward, we have to start at the top. The foundation isn't going anywhere here, not with this stuff. So the roof is our big issue here. And you can see in this corner over here, there's a little wave in it on the outside. And it can't be slate. We cannot afford slate. So we're talking about changing the roof, basically.
Oh my goodness, to shingles.
Well, that would have to be the debate.
Wow.
Which also has a problem because I'm asking for a historic grant to fix the windows downstairs.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's slate or nothing. So I can fix the roof every year. Because I was talking with our roofer and just how part of the regular maintenance program, because we fixed it 3 years ago and didn't have any problems for 3
Yeah.
years. But the hangers up here are, you know, some of them are ancient.
Sure.
And they just go and water starts seeping in like this over here. And, you know, if we put the building on an annual maintenance of them just coming over for $500, $600, $700 and just fixing slate or putting it back in place, we'd probably do okay. If you do ever start taking this off, I'm sure you're going to get into the sheathing and everything else underneath it. So, although we don't, you know, it was surprising not to see any mold up there.
That was a shock.
But when we pulled all that off, right in the corner at the peak, it was damp, and we kind of expected that, but it's actually open behind the plaster there. And you can see the exterior wall and the interior, back of the interior wall, and there's nothing on it, there's nothing on the wood. And up here, that it was just rust over the years from where apparently
Yeah.
it has been leaking on and off for years. Yeah. But like I said, before we did any of the work downstairs, we had the entire building environmentally checked and it passed. And before we move to the next stage, I'm just going to do it again over a weekend. We set monitors in the building and the company will come in back Monday and pick them up and we'll see where we are. But so far, nothing, just wetness.
Does this have copper on any of the slate down in the fascia?
This stuff is up here. No, it's a tin print up here, I'm sorry.
Under the
Yeah.
slate outdoors.
Under the slate, I don't know.
It's, because I worked on some of the old ones, like the old backhoe hollow farm,
Uh-huh.
and we spent hours soldering copper squares back in that were loose underneath the slate. But I mean, you're talking 160 years old, that's
Yeah.
pretty cheap roof repair.
Yeah,
I stay with the slate
yeah,
guys.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, at a few $100s a year just to have them come in
Yeah,
and just keep fixing it. That'll go on forever, but
yeah,
maintain the historic value of the building, or, yeah, its historic value. Removing the slate is not gonna be the answer.
You think this one's tough? To look at the Lincoln, the Norman Rockwell Museum up by Stewart's and Arlington.
Yeah.
If you're ever getting gas, look at the roof over there.
Yeah,
It's
Right.
printed tin like this. I don't know where to find it or duplicate it.
yeah. Well, we had looked into, at one point, what we would do to try and restore this strip that's missing back here.
yeah.
And working with Chris Williams, we looked at lots and lots, and you can't even find this in this pattern. It just doesn't exist anymore.
No.
But anyway, we digress. But
No, yeah,
yeah, we'll move forward here with the environmental, and then the next step will be, we're going to do the roof repairs. We'll start discussing renovating this space into the
say
offices.
we're gonna, yeah,
Yeah, we'll turn this into the office spaces we had designed, lower the ceiling. It will be a drop ceiling. We had talked about doing a sheetrock ceiling that would go from the railing and follow the bars around. But the problem is
windows.
water.
Oh,
And if we have a sheetrock ceiling here, we will never get to it. So we'll have to go with a drop ceiling so that we can pop panels out and get up to repair, or at least if something starts ripping the panel, which is easily popped out and replaced, but you wouldn't have water just accumulating. Because once it's up there, you'd have to get up to the attic there, or what will be the attic, and try and look out, but there's no way to walk across anyway. So you have to have the panels pop out so you can get up here. So it won't be exactly the way we wanted it, but it's the only practical way of doing it. And the rest, we'd have the office space, and, you know, we'll bring out the diagram in a meeting pretty soon. Because we'll probably want to go to bid with that in the fall, because we have the money to do it and the plan to do it. And I think we've talked about it for a long time.
What will we do with the windows above the ceiling?
The windows above the ceiling, everything will stay from the exterior exactly the way it is. The building will look exactly the way it is from the outside. The only time you'll be able to tell that something has happened in here is really at night, when there's a light in one of the offices or here. Then you'll see, well, it'll be just like that. This roof here
Yeah.
cuts these windows in half. So it'll have that same effect. From the outside, you will not be able to tell that anything's gone on in here. And when you walk in here, instead of being, you know, this, which is basically not effective space at all, you'll have separate workstations and offices where people can actually work and talk in a small meeting space here, because we don't need much more space than this. And anything bigger than this, we're actually kind of pushing the fire code anyway. So we would have to go somewhere else. If we knew we were having a hot button item come up, we would just have the meeting at the school or the firehouse or someplace instead of here. But, you know, in 4 or 5 years at these meetings, I think the most I've seen is 20, 24 people. We could have predicted that there would have been that many at that meeting.
yeah.
You know, so if you get something really big, you know it's going to come up, and we could just move that meeting to discuss it somewhere else. But it's not efficient trying to have this all as meeting space, because it's underutilizing the whole place. Right now, if there's 5 people up here, which there frequently are, people are over talking each other the whole time. People are trying to talk about their taxes with the listers, or being overheard by people in zoning, and water's over here, and cemeteries over here, and it's just, it's not good workspaces. 3 of us in a very small space downstairs, and when we're all there, we're all talking on the phone or doing something, or someone comes in to talk to this one, and it gets very noisy and distracting and kind of unproductive at times. So it'll just work out better, and you won't be able to tell. From the outside, you won't be able to tell. And if the building ever wants, if anyone ever comes up with the money to restore this room to its previous grandeur, pull the nails out of the floor, the walls come down, the ceiling's a drop ceiling, everything can come out. We're not structurally altering anything. It's just a few walls with sheetrock and a hanging ceiling. But it will create the office space to make it workable. because we're gonna be here for a long time, and we're not going anywhere, so.
So one thing I haven't heard anybody mention, central heat and air, are you gonna try it in any way when you modify this?
No,
Why?
because we don't need it and it's too expensive. We have, the heating, we've talked about that we can easily do a couple of zones in the building, and up here be one. Individual units for the windows.
Well, yeah, you can still zone it, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying if you're going to hide it.
Oh, well, there's actually
Then you can do it.
the heat up here is actually more than efficient right now. And the AC work, the units we can get, the standing units, because of the vagaries of office hours, you know, you don't want to really be running like a central unit for here. You just want to put on, and everybody, even downstairs, you'll have the clerk will have it on for a little bit, but basically in our office, we never have it on. So,
The central area is a maintenance issue anyway.
well, yeah. I mean, it would be a good idea, but like,
Good way to do it.
I will probably be over in this corner, and on some days I'll be the only one up here, and I'd rather open the window. So, you know, and then other times it'll be over here, but they might want it so they can flip their little one on for a few hours.
Well, I just didn't know how you're gonna stick them through the walls and stuff and still keep the integrity of the building.
No, yeah, but these little ones, they have little ductwork like this big,
Yeah.
and a little drain tube, yeah, and that's all you need now. Actually, we have one over here that even in this open space, because the lister was working in the corner, our assessor, was working in the corner, just having it there and just running it for an hour would cool it off enough. Because in the afternoon here in the summertime,
So it's gotta get brutal.
it gets pretty nasty up here.
Pretty brutal sitting here.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal here at times.
Well,
But,
you just did my neighbor's old house over there. And it was not about if it was expensive or not, but it's really paying for itself.
oh, yeah. Well, updating this, there's no choice but to
I mean,
update
they don't
this.
have to do the upstairs and, they can break it. They've got that
Yeah.
zone, so they actually can do 3 parts of the house. I mean, they make stuff.
Well, that's why we're doing the heating zones too, to keep, because again, like if I'm in this corner, my having the heat, because they get annoyed with me downstairs because I keep the heat so low. But, you know, I'll keep the heat low and the rest of the place can be even lower. You know, it's just, we can work around and keep it much more efficient that way.
Tony, I got a question off the record.
Well, you can't have an off-the-record question on
When I was a
TV.
kid, they moved the building from Stanley Tools up here, didn't they? The old stone,
I don't remember.
I was in Shaftsbury, I remember that.
What-
Came
what-
up over Church Street with that. I
Oh,
thought that came right out here.
Next time.
next on the
I get
agenda
old, I don't
is,
do this stuff.
next on the agenda, well, I'll have to reload my computer. So let's go, next on the item is a mulcher grant.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes,
I saw.
through Shelley Stiles and the Bennington County Conservation District. We can get a mulcher to do the ditching work on the side of the road. It's a $5,200 mulcher. Our contribution will be $520. The rest will be a federal grant. And, you know, there's no downside to it whatsoever. Bennington just got the same model and Pownell's getting the same model. Just to give you an idea of its value, we have done a lot of ditching this spring, and what we were getting behind on was the mulching. So I had them rent a mulcher from Brown's, and they did all the mulching, I forget how many feet it was, in one day last Friday. They just did it all. It took the 3 guys on the truck with the hay bales, but you know, got around and we're able to do it all in one day. It's just so much quicker, so much more efficient. And part of the storm, you know, Act 46 for the stormwater, we eventually over the next 20 years have to ditch 60 miles of road. So the ditching takes time. It has to be seeded and it has to be mulched exactly the way they want it. This is just the easiest way of doing it. So actually, if we can have a motion to accept the BCCD grant, it just requires me to sign it. when we finish writing it up. There's just some things we have to write up.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
300. Yeah, we had talked about using mulching as opposed to that, using the
Oh, the
brush hog.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Looks
much,
a lot better.
it's much better to get things going. And, yeah, well, when we get to that's a whole nother subject, is when we start cutting stuff back.
Yeah.
And I know that's a point of debate over how far back it goes. We have lots to get back. What happens is, and kind of when I've talked about this, we went to the one pass with mowing and then one pass with mowing, and then it starts growing in. And so we do have some catch up to do, but from readjusting everything, basically we'll be doing a great deal of that through October and November till the snow flies, and we'll cut back a lot of stuff. The distance back is a point of debate. The full extension of the arm, pushing it back, is something we'll all have to discuss. And the practical matter is that we have a lot of roads that need to cut back. So if you start the process and go back 3 feet this year, it's not going to grow back 3 feet before next year. So next year you push it back a little bit more because we don't have endless amounts of time to do this. We have a very old tractor. We can adjust our bidding process to get someone in to come in and do that. We didn't ask our mower to do this. So this would be a new part of the contract to ask someone to come in and really brush this stuff back. So it's something we can work on and change the pattern. We can ask our current mower to put it in 2 wide because it's been one wide pass twice a year. You know, these things just, okay. This has been an especially quick growing season, and things have come out and grown pretty quickly this year. So it's kind of amplifying, you know, along with everything else, along with not having enough men and everything else, things are growing quicker than normal. So we will get to that problem too. It's on the agenda. I have quite an agenda.
One more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Well, we could figure, Dave, I think, or might be an idea at least, is that maybe every other year, cut back 2 passes. And then that would, you know, you don't have to do it every year. It'll save money in the long run a little bit, because if you try to go 2 all the time, it's gonna double our budget probably. But if we go every other year with 2, it'll keep it back, keep it out of the road.
Yeah, and trying to go from, you know, if you want to look at it, the absolute perfect way to do it and finish everything perfectly with 70 miles of road, we're not going to get there.
We've got the crew.
We don't even have the equipment.
Right.
So, you know, let's get back the worst spots. Let's get everything in so that it's not right on the road, and then we can worry about coming back next year or adjusting one of our contracts to get it cut back more. But the idea is you have to move it back some, but you can't spend 2 weeks working on a half-mile of road because we still have 69 more to go.
Right.
You know, we'll never get anywhere. And the only way to I know the talk a couple of years ago, I guess, was, you know, we'll buy a machine and hire a guy to go do this year round. And that's quite an investment too.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, we're having enough trouble finding people for things, so
Yes.
I've forgotten my password, so hold on.
What's your password?
1, 2, 3, 4.
No?
See, I told you, I've been talking too long. Well, the next thing on the agenda is other business, so.
Oh, okay, good. Any other business?
There were a couple of questions on the minutes from the last meeting. I wasn't here.
Was there action?
One was about the dig safe, because Mr. Newell mentioned that we had an accident with a Comcast cable. It was just in a
Oh, right.
very unusual
Right,
place.
right.
We do use dig safe That time it wasn't used, no doubt about it, and it was an odd location, and it was supposed to be a simple culvert thing, and that happens, and that happened, but they do use dig safe. It's just that time it seemed unlikely, and they didn't. Not much to say about that. There's a question about the process of Arlington Rescue getting a check. Arlington Rescue was given a check from a community appropriations for fiscal 16 that was misplaced and was never cashed, and it hit our 180-day limit. So working with their treasurer there and ours, we just canceled that check and reissued the check so they got their community appropriation. And that was voted on last year. Yeah, but that's all it was. Our auditors are very big on us moving any stale checks, as they call them, and getting them off our books quickly. So it just disappeared somewhere, and so we issued them a new one.
And they did pay the money to Bendigo Rescue Squad.
Yeah, because that's a straight budget item, so I
Yeah.
paid that to them right after the 1st of
Yeah.
July. You know, because that's right out of the budget now. But that was community appropriation. And actually, I think I just reviewed the action items from last week, so we've knocked that one off too.
Yeah, yes.
Now we're down to executive session for personnel, which is, we are hiring a temporary full-time highway crewman, seasonal worker who will work the next 10 to 12 weeks. And we are hiring a part-time seasonal DPW worker that will do the mowing of the parks, transfer station, town hall, and all that stuff. This comes about because I'm sure you know, but for anybody in the public, we had a retirement and a resignation to move on to another job. And it left the crew in the beginning of the construction season and vacation season down to 4, which meant most days in July and August we had 3 and sometimes 2 guys. So we're back up to full speed, and we can still, other than Myers Road, which has other complications in planning, or designing I should say, we will get back up to everything we needed to do this year. But the purpose of the executive session is a vote to hire these two, but it has to be done in executive session in case there's questions about anybody. So if we can adjourn to executive session, we can.
One thing, Dave. Steve said something about somebody had plugged the culvert on Glass New Drive. We gotta check on that because I don't think we can let people start doing that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I heard him say that.
I didn't
ask
see
him
it coming
tomorrow.
up there, but
I don't know anything
we
about
can't
it.
let people doing that stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was last week or last decade, you know.
Well, I don't either, but it's just like I say,
No, if we need the water to go underneath our road, it's gonna have to go underneath our
we're gonna be
road.
in trouble.
Yeah, yeah,
Find out.
okay.
A motion to adjourn?
Go into executive session.
I'm sorry, go to executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.